Today, ASEAN collectively boasts a GDP of over $3 trillion, making it one of the world's largest economies. Meanwhile, ASEAN trade reached around $2.8 trillion. And more importantly, in 2020, despite the challenges of the pandemic, FDI inflows to ASEAN reached approximately $107 billion. And with a population of around 650 million people, ASEAN seems to be comparable to European Union. In today's video, let's take a look at whether the ASEAN group has what it takes to become the European Union of the East. Firstly, let's define what is ASEAN. ASEAN refers to the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, which is a sizable economic union made up of 10 Southeast Asian nations. In order to promote economic growth, cooperation, and collective development among its member nations, this alliance became essential. But, before ASEAN, there was the Association of Southeast Asia, ASA, which existed before ASEAN was established. When ASA was established in 1961, its main goal was to create peace and stability in the turbulent region of Southeast Asia. The development of national communist movements in a number of nations during this time period made more international collaboration necessary to maintain peace in the region. Despite initial attempts, ASA eventually fell apart, paving the way for the establishment of ASEAN in 1967. With its hazy but significant goals, ASEAN aimed to promote regional peace and economic cooperation. While it refrained from defining specific measures like a unified market or a binding military alliance, its commitment to fostering cooperation and regional unity was evident. During the early years of ASEAN's existence, its member states developed a complicated web of mutual distrust that was affected by historical, political, and geopolitical considerations. Despite these complex obstacles, ASEAN came together, mostly motivated by a common worry over the rise of communist insurgencies in the area. These worries were heightened by the domino theory of communist geopolitics, which postulated that the success of communism in one country would lead to similar outcomes in other nations. Despite lacking significant legal authority at first, ASEAN eventually became a crucial platform that allowed member governments to work through their disputes and avoid outright war. This accomplishment was all the more impressive in light of Southeast Asia's turbulent political climate. It is impossible to exaggerate how important ASEAN is to maintaining peace in the area. The organization, which served as a forum for diplomacy and collaboration, was crucial in reducing tensions between its member governments. ASEAN successfully reduced the risk of confrontations that would have potentially escalated in the absence of discussion by establishing a forum where governments could freely discuss disagreements and concerns. This was especially noteworthy given the complex political and historical history of the area, which is frequently compared to the unstable Balkans in Eastern Europe. The term Balkans of the East emphasizes how far ASEAN has come in preserving peace and averting conflicts among nations with divergent interests and grudges from the past. Midway through the 1970s, ASEAN began a transformational phase in response to substantial regional developments. The rise of the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia and the fall of Saigon made it clear that a better framework was needed to face new concerns. Thus, by signing the Treaty of Amity and Cooperation, TAC, in 1976, ASEAN revised its committee system and reaffirmed its commitment to stability. TAC offered strategies for resolving conflicts in addition to endorsing the values of peaceful coexistence. The treaty's provisions for growth were a sign of ASEAN's future plans for developing collaboration beyond its founding membership. ASEAN demonstrated its flexibility and response to the shifting geopolitical scene by tackling both territorial conflicts and more general security issues. Due to ASEAN's dedication to stability, favorable conditions for economic growth were made possible. The group contributed to the relative political stability that helped foster the environment for long-term economic expansion. The use of World Bank statistics to illustrate the remarkable GDP growth in the late 1970s and early 1980s emphasizes the real results of ASEAN's efforts. For its member states, The organization's success in preserving peace and developing cooperation translated into more prospects for commerce, investment, and development. The 1980s saw a dramatic development with ASEAN's growth. ASEAN welcomed additional members, including Brunei, in addition to its founding members. Later expansions have place in countries including Vietnam, Laos, Myanmar, and Cambodia. These developments underlined ASEAN's dedication to promoting harmony, stability, and growth throughout Southeast Asia. By embracing new members with varied backgrounds and viewpoints, ASEAN demonstrated its commitment to inclusivity and cooperation. A significant turning point in ASEAN history, the ASEAN Free Trade Agreement (AFTA), was created in 1992 with the intention of promoting economic integration and cooperation among member states. By removing internal tariffs, this historic accord attempted to establish a more unified economic environment. By doing this, member nations hoped to promote regional commerce, boost economic expansion, and realize the full potential of the Southeast Asian market. But it's crucial to remember that while AFTA concentrated on eliminating tariffs within the region, it didn't create a uniform external tariff. In order to strike a balance between regional cooperation and national economic interests, this meant that ASEAN member states kept the freedom to determine their own tariff rates for trade with non-member nations. The foundational ASEAN concept of non-interference, which guides its approach to international relations, faced substantial obstacles as a result of crucial events occurring within member states. The Rohingya genocide and Myanmar's military takeover brought to light the moral difficulty of upholding non-interference in the face of flagrant abuses of human rights and democratic norms. Maintaining neutrality while also responding to humanitarian disasters was a difficult conundrum for ASEAN. The exclusion of Myanmar from ASEAN's annual summit in 2021 marked a significant turning point in the relationship. This choice signaled a change from the organization's customary non-interference policy and a recognition of the necessity to deal with internal problems that cut beyond international boundaries. ASEAN expressed its opposition to the activities of the military regime and its dedication to the principles of democracy and human rights by rejecting Myanmar's participation. This change emphasized how flexible ASEAN's strategy is and demonstrated how open the group is to making adjustments while keeping its key values. In summary, the AFTA and the issues with ASEAN's non-interference policy both highlight the dynamic nature of the group, where economic integration, regional stability, and the need to manage difficult geopolitical realities coexist. As of right now, ASEAN is doing an incredible job of supporting its members' economic progress. But when ASEAN comes to this fork in the road, its decision will determine its course and serve as a model for other regional organizations by balancing unity and sovereignty. The organization is required to update its guiding principles for the 21st century amid geopolitical complexity, human rights issues, and international ties. In the end, the choice of whether to provide help or respect sovereignty has an impact outside of ASEAN. Can ASEAN build on its history of collaboration while upholding independence? The solution will specify its part in determining Southeast Asia's destiny, having an impact that extends far beyond its immediate area. With that, let's end the video. This is Visionomics, signing out.